Hi everyone, and thanks for listening in to this presentation on effective game planning for playing the pain, where we will discuss an experimental framework for testing the analgesic efficacy of mobile games. As you can see from the graph provided on the screen, pharmacological pain therapies are failing. Globally, chronic pain affects 1 in every 5 people, and overprescription of pain medication has given rise to the so-called opioid epidemic. Because of this, researchers and clinicians alike have turned to possible non-pharmacological alternatives to pain. Brain areas that modulate perception of pain are important for attention and reward processing as well. Indeed, researchers have found that distraction is an effective way to reduce pain. It is expected that if a behavioral therapy engages the attention and reward systems more actively, then it would be more analgesic. However, the challenge is that games are not universally appealing, and to add a token of reward to a behavioral task does not necessarily make a game. Another challenge relates to the effect of individual differences in cognition and emotion. As is emphasized in Melzak's important neuromatrix theory of pain, the relation between pain sensation and psychological factors is multifactorial and complex. Factors such as stress, attention, anxiety, and memory can influence how individuals experience pain. In this study, we propose an experimental framework based on Lazarus's transactional theory of stress appraisal and coping. Briefly, the AGPHA framework emphasizes the necessity of minimizing the experience of stress in order to increase the efficacy of games for healthcare. In the case of pain, if a player is presented with an uninteresting or challenging game, they get stressed. Because stress is a physiological phenomenon, it increases pain sensitivity. Therefore, the player will not experience any analgesic effect and will lose motivation to play more. We aim to develop this AGPHA framework to test the impact of game preference on analgesia. This is an overview of our study. Based on the theoretical framework of AGPHA, we hypothesized that game stress diminishes its analgesic effect. To test this hypothesis, we measured analgesia under 3 conditions: playing a preferred game, a non-preferred game, and a non-game memory test that engages attention and is shown to have analgesic effects. We induced pain using a computerized heat probe calibrated to each person's pain threshold. The study had a randomized crossover design. The outcome variables include game experience and pain experience. We also examined inter-individual differences in pain sensitivity using the pain catastrophizing scale. We selected 6 games in 2 categories. In Category 1, games were timed and required players to pay attention and use their visual motor system to react to gameplay. In Category 2, games were not timed and were strategy puzzles. 2 days before the test, participants were asked to download and learn all 6 digital games. On the day of their experiment, they ranked their most favorite and their least favorite games. The experiment consisted of 3 random trials of 18 minutes each. Each of the 3 games was played for 5 minutes, with a short break to record pain. In the first 3 minutes, pain was applied at a warm temperature, and in the next 2 minutes, the hot temperatures were applied based on individual calibrations. Because our sample size is small, we will present the results on a case-by-case descriptive basis. First off, we showed that game preferences were personal. Subway Surfer, a fast and visually complex game of navigating a city and avoiding obstacles, was preferred by 2 female participants. 2048, a slow math puzzle with very minimal visual graphics, was preferred by the other 2 participants. We found a commonality in the least favorite game, Park and Drive, among the female participants. We found a distinct difference in game experience between the preferred game and the 2-back test. The sense of competence and positive affect was higher for 3 out of the 4 participants, and the sense of challenge, while experienced moderately, was less than challenge experienced in the 2-back. Therefore, we can conclude that the 2-back test was more stressful than the preferred game. In 3 out of 4 of the participants, the preferred game was most analgesic and associated with the lowest level of pain and unpleasantness. Participant 2 remained sensitive to pain even during the preferred game. In summary, we showed that the AGPHA model holds in a crossover repeated measure experiment. The experience of the preferred game was less stressful than the cognitive two-back test, and we measured consistent analgesia in 3 out of the 4 participants when they played their preferred game. We also observed that inter-individual differences in pain catastrophizing were related to how effective the preferred game established analgesia. While our sample was too small to draw any strong conclusions, we found that elements of choice, competence, and positive affect are important in designing behavioral therapies for pain treatment. One game does not fit all. The taxonomy of pain sensitivity and playing interests needs to be considered simultaneously in order to design efficacious treatments. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.